Your headset crackles once, then dies mid-syllable. The word solar hangs unfinished in the static, and the line goes dead in your ear. Red text floods the panel in front of you. Signal lost, no retry scheduled. Your hand freezes on the console because you already know what this means before anyone explains it. For 14 days, Mars will not hear a single word from Earth, and Earth will not hear from Mars. A single sentence on the wall confirms the countdown. 14 days, 0 hours, mission clock reset to 0. Your crewmates gather behind you, eyes locked on the same dead readout, none of them speaking. The sun sits directly between two planets right now, and it burns without any concern for what it silences. Every 26 months, Earth and Mars swing into a straight line with the star wedged exactly between them, an alignment astronomers call solar conjunction. Plasma boils off that star's surface in dense, churning streams, thick enough to tear any radio signal into meaningless noise before it crosses the gap. Engineers have thrown backup frequencies at this wall for decades. Stronger transmitters fail against the same plasma. The blackout holds regardless of clever engineering because physics owns this problem completely. Your body reaches for a phone that isn't there. Years of Earth-trained reflex send your fingers toward the comm panel every time an alarm sounds, because a human raised on that planet learns early that help always answers a call. Astronauts drill for years inside that same comfort, trusting a calm voice from mission control to solve any crisis within seconds. That trained reflex turns dangerous here, on Mars, the instant a warning light flashes and your hand still swipes toward a channel that has carried nothing for 6 days straight. The panel stays dark. Habit keeps checking anyway. A hydroponics alarm rips through the corridor at 0300 on day 9. Green readouts flip to amber, then to red, and the nutrient pump's whine climbs into a grinding shriek down the hall. On Earth, that same alarm reaches a specialist within minutes, someone who trained for exactly this failure. Here, the corridor holds 6 crew members and 1 laptop full of protocols, nothing else standing between the colony and a ruined food supply. Your pulse hammers against your ribs as you scan the manual with flashlight, aware that no distant expert is going to weigh in on this decision. Distance itself turns lethal during these 14 days. A crew member doubled over from appendicitis on Earth reaches a surgical team inside the hour. A crew member doubled over on Mars during conjunction faces the same 6 colonists, the same laptop, and an empty channel where consultation used to live. Equipment failures compound that isolation further because a stuttering pressure regulator inside the life support loop cannot pause for a distant engineer's approval that will never arrive before oxygen levels drop. Radio lag between the two planets stretches conversation into a slow, staggered rhythm most days, a round trip sometimes crossing 20 minutes. Conjunction erases even that delayed exchange, replacing lag with total absence. Mission planners mark this exact blackout on a calendar years before it happens, because 2 planets tracing fixed orbits guarantee this silence with total precision. Orbits do not negotiate. Months before the silence falls, planners build branching decision trees, dense flowcharts anticipating hundreds of failures and prescribing a specific response for each. Engineers load autonomous diagnostic software straight into the life support systems, granting machines authority to detect a fault and act without a human's distant approval. Crews rehearse blackout drills for weeks, running fabricated emergencies while a supervisor withholds all outside guidance on purpose. Sweat gathers on a trainee's collar during these drills, and that sweat has nothing to do with heat. A technician's hand drops from the dead comm panel on day 9 of the actual blackout. Amber warning lights sweep across the control board behind her, and the nutrient pump's shriek fills the corridor at full volume. Her fingers land on a laminated page taped beside the console, a decision tree sketched months earlier during a drill she barely remembers finishing. Her eyes trace one branch to its end. Isolate valve 4, reroute through the secondary loop. She executes the fix in 90 seconds flat, alone, without exchanging a single word with anyone on Earth. The pump's shriek drops to a low hum, and the corridor's amber lights blink back to green one by one. That laminated page holds more value than the antenna array outside. Survival inside conjunction traces back to a decision made months earlier, back when Earth's voice still filled the channel every single day. Someone sat down before the silence began and asked a brutal question. What happens the instant nobody answers? Writing that answer down in advance, drilling it into muscle memory, turns 14 days of dread into 14 days of disciplined, quiet competence. Light itself crawls across this gap at nearly 300,000 kilometers every second, an almost incomprehensible speed by any human measure. Even that blistering pace takes minutes to cross the distance between the two planets on an ordinary day. Conjunction collapses that lag into something stranger than distance. It becomes a flat wall instead of a delay, forcing every colonist inside it to recalibrate how time itself moves without a daily voice from home marking its passage. Clocks on the colony tick forward in the same mechanical rhythm they always kept, yet the days blur together without Earth's updates arriving to anchor them. A crew member logs sunrise on day 4 and struggles hours later to recall whether that sunrise happened yesterday or 3 days back. Ordinary chores stretch and compress strangely, unmoored from the familiar check-ins that used to punctuate every shift. Day 7 marks a quiet shift in the colony's mood. Early days carried a raw, jagged tension, every unfamiliar sound sending a flinch toward the dead comm panel. By the midpoint, that jagged edge settles into something steadier, because the crew has already survived a full week running entirely on its own training. A colonist sleeps soundly on day 8 for the first time since the blackout started, her body finally accepting that no voice from Earth is arriving to interrupt her rest. Resilience here takes a shape without any drama attached to it. A technician restocks a medical kit at 2 a.m. because the drill schedule marked Tuesday for that task. 6 colonists share dinner in a dome lit only by internal power, laughing at a joke that has nothing to do with the silence surrounding them. Someone updates a decision tree by hand afterward, adding a branch for a failure the original drills never covered, preparing the next crew for a blackout still years away on the calendar. The antenna dish catches its first coherent burst of static on day 14, right on schedule. That static resolves slowly into recognizable data, and the console's dead red light flickers, hesitates, then finally shifts to a steady green. A crew member's hand trembles slightly, reaching for the headset, not from fear this time, but from something closer to disbelief at how ordinary the returning signal sounds. Earth's voice picks back up mid-sentence, the exact word it dropped 14 days ago, as though the entire blackout amounted to a dropped call and nothing more. That plasma wall crossed the exact same path it crosses every 26 months, driven by orbital mechanics indifferent to every medical emergency or equipment failure happening beneath it. Human preparation converted a guaranteed blackout into something survivable, and that conversion happened entirely on the human side of the equation. The gap between those two facts holds this story's full weight. The universe grants no exceptions, and foresight fills the space where exceptions used to sit. Isolation here becomes a test administered months in advance, graded by physics on a day already circled on a calendar. Colonists who trusted their own judgment before the silence began walk out of conjunction with a working colony and a stack of updated protocols. Colonists who waited for the silence to teach them something new would have run out of time before the antenna ever reconnected. Future settlers will meet this identical wall of plasma every 26 months, the same frozen dish, the same 14 days of a dead comm panel stretching ahead of them. Engineers already sketch relay satellites positioned to sidestep the sun's direct path, small silver dots meant to keep a thread of connection alive even during conjunction. Each new fix raises its own fresh question, because rerouting a signal around a star only exposes how deeply colonists still depend on that signal reaching them at all. Mars keeps testing what humans believe about connection, distance, and the quiet confidence required to survive without either one. A longer silence waits somewhere beyond these 14 days, out past the orbit of this red planet, where even a 20-minute lag would feel like generous contact by comparison. The plasma wall between two neighboring worlds turns out to be the smallest lesson in a far larger education still waiting among the stars.